Yes, I would like an intro.
Okay.
And we're live. Hello to the YouTubes.
Hey, everybody. Hi,
Hey,
Jeff
Cody.
McKinney.
Hey, Cody. Hey, Laura. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see. It's been a couple weeks. Sorry, we have not been on the tubes. We had a vacation, and then just things just didn't work out for coming on. If you listen to the show, you understand why. All right, just getting in there. John's ready. Carin is ready.
I am. Sorry. My son's moving to Alaska, and he got a sat phone for his drive through Canada.
A what with the huh?
He got some SATCOM for his drive through Canada because they're going to be going places that have no cell reception.
Wow.
JVB. How's it going, JVB?
Well, hang on, I'm going to mute my phone 1 second.
Yeah, let me just make sure I am as well. All right. And
Not done.
Okay.
Sorry, give me a second.
ooh, JVB's drinking a Sazerac.
That's not a thing. Sometimes I feel like he just makes stuff up just to make me feel dumb. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of cheeky. Read through it in your mind, Jeff.
Yep.
Because it's a play on words.
Is it?
It's a thing that Solomon came
It's
up
a
with
thing.
at the last second.
I got all these kids. It's all dad jokes over here.
What is it? Like dad jokes just happen instantly. The second we had a daughter, my husband just started spewing the words.
You know what it is? It's the only thing our kids will laugh at.
Or grown at, depending on how old they are.
Yeah.
Oh,
More
Dad, that's so
groaning.
funny. Oh, Dad, that's so funny until they're 9, and then it's like, ugh.
It's so bad. We're doing renovations, and like he'll be talking to the contractor about the fence, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm on the fence about that." They're talking about like the bathroom, and like, "Oh, well, should we do that?" Well, no, that's putting money down the drain. Like it's so bad.
And every dad is like, yes.
That he sounds like a stand-up character.
Like he doesn't even know he's doing it. It's just
JVB. No, nobody's at WBC, and I didn't even think about it until I started seeing everybody there, and now I'm very depressed that we're not there.
Hey, JVB, I feel like over the last week, the British announcer on the live feed, they gave him like a crash course. They're like, this is a 50-50 grind. This is a Smith. This is a Feeble. Because it's like last week they didn't even know. So he's like, that's a cool trick.
So, Carin, there should be like a comments button or something.
I see it. Yeah,
if you click that,
coming in hot. Yeah,
JVB always comes in hot, ripping his motorcycle helmet off as he skids into the show.
No, I think at the Wine Bloggers Conference, those wondering in the chat, I think they're doing like a live feed party. Like they're actually, this is Stubb and Kern's break off session. They're just broadcasting us for everybody.
There you go. All right. Carin, any questions before we get started?
No. I heard your origin story already.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I got to hear how the Avengers came to be. So
That's right. Okay, and just make sure you guys can hear that.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Too many times of messing that up. All right. All right. Where is it? All right. Let's do it.
At the sound of the tone, the official "We Like Drinking" time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 340 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing booze news, scotch, and many other entrepreneurial spirits with Carin Luna-Ostaseski. So crack open that beer, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking! Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to get going with the show tonight. Carin, did I get it at all right?
Yeah.
Did I come anywhere close? Okay. That's a first for everybody listening.
85%.
Okay, yeah. I was going a little fast and I felt it kind of fall apart there. But let me start off by saying cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 340 of your favorite award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on fun. We like to have it. So make sure you never miss another episode of our brand of drinking fun by visiting welikedrinking.com/subscribe.
Subscribe.
Ring that bell.
Ring that bell, all the things. Jeff will get us to it that later. But let's get to it. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, and I'm really excited about it. So let's find out who we're drinking with and what they've got in their glasses. We're joined by our usual panel members. We have our California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador and recovering wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Hey, everybody.
Our commercial brewer and snake wrangler, John Ruyak.
Yes, I'm here.
And I am your host and certified specialist of wine, Jeff Eccles. Now, our guest this week founded SIA Scotch Whisky from a mix of passion, determination, and perseverance. Funded via Kickstarter, she launched SIA in 2013. It is now a multi-award-winning brand. She is with us this week to discuss her recently launched grant program called the Entrepreneurial Spirit Fund, aimed at helping multicultural entrepreneurs launch their businesses. Please help us welcome Carin Luna-Ostaseski.
Thank you. Yay. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm so excited about this. Thank you for sending us a sample to one lucky panel member.
I tried. I cannot shoot to Colorado.
It's enough for everybody. If I shake it real hard, everybody will catch
Jeff
the
Solomon.
vapors.
Jeff Solomon is now coddling this long, beautiful bottle of SIA closely to his heart, like it's a newborn baby. It's quite the sight.
Yeah.
Jeff Solomon.
Yeah, it actually, by the way, it is a very nicely shaped bottle and it's easy to hold. There's no slippage. Like it's got like a little
indentation.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And it's funny, I talked to about 100 bartenders. They all said, make sure it's got a nice long neck too, so that I can pour it.
Yeah.
No foil, so that I don't cut myself.
And easy open. Yeah, the plastic was easy to take off. Wonderful cork. I got this nice little talker card dangling from it. You got 96 somewhere.
Yeah. The Ultimate Spirits Challenge. I'm so proud of it. It's we beat out quite a few of our competitors, and it was one of the highest rated Scotch whiskeys that year. So very, very excited.
That is so cool. I can only imagine that it's about as on par as winning a third podcast award.
Almost. Or immensely more. Folks, if you're already interested, you can find SIA Scotch Whisky at their website at www.siascotchwhisky.com and on Instagram at SIA Scotch Whisky. So be sure to check those out. All right. We're going to quickly talk about what John's drinking because it's pretty cool. So, John, what do you have in your glass?
I have in my cold little hands, because I've been in the walk-in for the last 2 days, canning Lizard Tail beer. And this is from our first run of our Legless Double IPA yesterday. This is, it was, well, I mean, there's still about 25 or 30 cans that are about 3/4 of the way full from getting the machine to work the way we wanted it to. But pretty cool. We did 72 4-packs. No, 216 4-packs, one for each location yesterday. And then today we did the Lagarto Loco, our Mexican lager. Same amount, 216 4-packs. And then tomorrow we're going to do the Honey Pale. And Yeah.
So exciting. So excited for you guys.
It's just, I was just thinking, I mean, it's crazy that was talking. Marcus is kind of one of my assistant brewers who's working the machine, right? I said, dude, you're into this kind of stuff. He did robotics as a kind of a lot of stuff at community college and stuff. And he's an HVAC technician for a while. And I'm like, dude, think about what we were doing a year ago. I was laid off from the brewery because of the pandemic. He was working 80 hours a week as an HVAC technician and not getting any training at all from the company he's working for. And my other assistant brewer was working at a bank.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And, and here we are just at eight cans a minute today. Just feeding them in and just running out to get more cans. And I didn't eat lunch yesterday or today because you start at 10 o'clock and it takes about 4 hours to do it. Mm-hmm. And then we got to run them out to all the locations and they come home and I'm kind of angry and yell at my wife because I hadn't eaten any lunch. And we made salsa from the peppers we grew in our garden, but no one cares about that.
Yeah.
No one cares about that at all.
I gotta say something. It's gotta feel like, John, you've been brewing longer than I've been alive, almost. And I have to imagine though that getting your beer in an actual like real can, like on a line, it's just gotta feel like this other level of just like this feels real. You've been drinking it the whole time, but now it's like, oh, now it feels real.
Well,
that's gotta be fun.
I'm sure Carin, is very familiar with the feeling of seeing.
I gotta say though, I know the feeling. My friend, she has a canned wine. It's called Wine Society, and I got to help out with the canning, and it's intense. It's like it's really like it's gratifying at the end of the day when you see like all of these like stacks of can. Your fingers are frozen. You've got like carpal tunnel. But it's a joy to have like just to crack one open at the end of the experience. So congratulations.
Thanks a lot. And then to see it and have it, the carbonation rising out of the glass, I think you can see it. It's just like, oh, that's the way it really happens, huh? And then to taste it and to taste it yesterday sitting in the backyard was just like, yeah, that's our double IPA.
That's pretty awesome, John. Congratulations.
It's pretty neat. So yeah,
that's awesome.
8.4 ABV and about 82 IBUs.
Awesome.
Is it available in California?
And before, listen,
I'm sorry. Is it available in California?
No, we're only selling through our tap rooms right now. Okay. We haven't gone through the whole FDA thing, so it's this is a live beer. There's yeast in there, so you got to keep them refrigerated. Though we do have a tester can sitting outside in the sun to see if it explodes.
Nice.
It's not in your garage? Come on, John.
No.
Okay.
You got one of those like one of those cameras that searches for wildlife. It's just pointing at that, waiting for it to move. That's awesome.
Like a Ring or a Nest Cam, like just
the still frame or just ready to go. Oh, that's awesome.
Super slow-mo. Moving on. Since we weren't able to get our hands on the SIA, I am drinking a Scotch whiskey that will not be named. And then I've got a little IPA chaser. So, but Jeff Solomon and Carin, you guys, I think you're drinking the same thing. So Jeff, Carin,
and I gotta say, Carin, I'm certain that the first time you saw this whiskey in this bottle, you had to get the chills as well. And again, this is really a cool bottle. So it's a blended Scotch whiskey, and color wise, looks like Scotch. It's this beautiful brown liquor. I will say, it's really fun. Seeing the legs on the glass here as I'm swirling it around. I'm pouring it neat to everybody who's doing audio only, and then I'll put it over some rocks in a little bit. But on the nose, there's like this. It's like this round type of nose to it. Like it's got like these caramel notes. It's got some woodsy notes. There's a little bit of a smoky note there as well. Like there's this really nice balance. And, you know, at 86 proof, and I'm sticking my nose right in the glass, I'm not singeing the nose hairs, which I think is a really, really important thing for me. Like it takes a brave soul to do this, but it really is just this really nice note on the nose, and then on the palate. Really peppery up front, like it dances around on the front palate there. There's this long, rich, like viscosity to it that's coating the mouth as it goes back. Really nice, beautiful. It's weird because I'm so used to like doing notes, like talking about like wine, and I'm describing it as acidity. It's more of like the alcohol heat that's there, but it's like it's got some chutzpah, but it's not something that's gonna make you, you know, it's not like why am I thinking of the Anchorman walking down the street drinking scotch right now? Like it's not gonna like throw you back either. Like it's this beautiful, just warming sensation. And it's like, it's so interesting. Like there's those pepper notes up front, but I'm getting like some white flowers that are lingering on this finish in the back. Like this is really cool. And like a little like citrus, like a little like a little like orange zest on there as well. And how fun is that? That's just one sip, and I've just got like this long lasting flavor. This is
another.
This is beautiful. I think I will.
I love hearing your tasting notes. It's funny, you've got such a great vocabulary. I live in Napa Valley, so I'm surrounded by people talking about wine, and I have no vocabulary for wine. But you totally nailed it with SIA. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't overpowering smoke on the nose. You know, my goal in introducing a whole new generation of people into the Scotch category was, you know, how do I do that? And one of the things that I learned through the years was to not overpower the nose, being such an important part of the taste experience with too much smoke. So you get a little bit of vanilla and some caramel on the nose, some you called it citrus, some orange notes, a little bit of honey on the mid palate, and then it does end with just a gentle hint of smoke. So thank you so much for sharing that. I gotta look up white flower. That one's new to me. So.
You know, when you're walking, you know, when you're on a hike and you just start eating everything that you're walking.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. Yeah. I see a lot of passion that was put into this. I see a little smoke. I see a little caramel. Speaking
of dad jokes.
This is great. Thank you so much.
So Carin, I know when you set out, and we're already diverging, so shock. When you set out, I know you were looking to really kind of change the expectations of what people would get out of Scotch. Yeah. So what was it that you were, you know, kind of trying to morph from and to, if that makes any sense?
Yeah. I think if I were to kind of, you know, capture who this is for, it would be like a Scotch curious, right? Like maybe you're drinking bourbons and ryes and American whiskeys, but you're not quite sure where to start with Scotch. I know, especially with many drinks, but with Scotch in particular, people, if they have a favorite, that's their go-to, right? And so it's really hard to convince someone otherwise. And there's plenty of people in the world that have not yet found their Scotch. And so my goal was definitely to start with SIA.
Awesome. Amazing. Okay. So anything else on the tasting notes, Jeff, or did you get us good?
I just want to reiterate that this is wonderful. I did just pour it on the rocks in this awesome vintage 49ers glass right here.
Some Hardee's. No, I always tell people, I'm like, try it neat first. So you get a sense for how the whiskey maker wanted it, right? And then you can always add water or ice. But you can't, if you start with ice, you can't really take it back, right?
Exactly. And this is, it's honestly, if I'm being honest, it's almost a little bit too mellow on the rocks for me. I kind of like it a little bit more neat. So my next round, I'm just going to go straight back to the neatness. But this is really magical. Wait, I just have so many questions. What gets one deep into Scotch to begin with? Because literally the only other Scotch that I have in my house was it's what my dad drank, so that's what's there. So how does one dive in and get like a passion for Scotch? Where did it come from?
Yeah, so I was a graphic designer in my career for almost 20 years. In somewhere my like kind of mid-20s, I was living in New York, and I was a cliche, right? I was like dressed head to toe in black, drinking Cosmos at a hotel bar. Like, my friend was like, you could do better. Have a glass of Scotch after work. And I was like, I don't drink Scotch. It's my grandfather's drink. And he said, well, it sounds like you just haven't found your brand yet. So that night I tried 4 different whiskeys, and I instantly fell in love with a brand called Oban 14. And I became, I was captivated by the bartender, right? He was telling me about these stories of the blenders, the distilleries, like this idea that that whiskey makers were putting product into barrels as a legacy. That they won't get to taste it because it's aging for 21 years or something, right? So I was really just enamored with the whole category. So I became that Scotch girl that was always trying to convince everybody else, like, you got to drink Scotch. And everyone was like, no, it burns my nostrils. It tastes like gasoline. Like, it's too strong, too expensive, too smoky. And so then I kind of got a little bit curious, and I started going to Scotland quite a bit, visiting distilleries. I became certified as a whiskey ambassador. I read every book, every magazine I could get my hands on. I even got my bartending license so I could learn how to make Scotch cocktails. And then I started hosting Scotch tasting events. At first, just for other companies, and just getting a sense for what brands people liked and what they didn't like and why. And then I started doing something crazy. I started hosting like focus groups and blind tastings where I'd cover up bottles and just get a sense for, what resonates for people that are new to the category. And then I started, and this is kind of like the funny, embarrassing story that I didn't used to share, but now I do. But I was going through a breakup, and I had a little extra money every week that I didn't need for couples counseling. So I started spending all my couples counseling money on Scotch. And I had this massive collection of about almost 300 bottles. And so I started reading about blenders, and that they just take, other whiskeys and create a new blend from it. So I started experimenting with that in my kitchen. And then, then I finally came up with this blend that I thought, this is good. This is something that we can work with as like an entry point for people. But I didn't know anybody in the industry to kind of help me along this process. So I wrote to anybody and anyone that I had met along the way. And then finally, some doors were opened to me by a set of sisters that were taking over their dad's Scotch importing business. Called Spirit Import. So it was really great to connect with them, and they helped kind of guide me along the way. And then after all that, I decided to quit my job. So that was really scary for anyone out there who has had a midlife career switch, to just kind of step into the abyss without a safety net, and just trust that there's going to be something to hold your step. So I took out a home equity line of credit. I maxed out my credit cards. I took on a second job doing freelance design work. And then finally, I used Kickstarter to crowdfund the first production batch of SIA. So what was cool about that, and to kind of wrap it up, was before it had even a single drop had hit US soil, people from all over the world were emailing me and calling me and asking me, hey, where can I buy a bottle of SIA? So that's how SIA was born. And that made me, as far as I know, the first Hispanic person in history to create a brand of Scotch whiskey, and the first American woman to do so.
That's called
long story short.
That's called going full nerd.
That is so cool.
That's so cool. I can't believe you stole me asking the origin story, Solomon. Like,
I knew I had to do it now, because if I waited for the actual interview portion.
Right.
I can tell it even more about the whiskey.
That's amazing, and that there you opened up so many more questions that we want to ask. We're gonna have to limit them because we really want to focus on other aspects of it. But before we get to that, we've got to see how the Scotch is affecting all our brain cells with a little bit we like to call
wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference. I'm going to go around the horn. What's that?
Hold on 1 second, John. Tap your microphone for me, would you? You're not on your mic.
I'm not on my mic.
Nope. I can tell because you're very nasally.
Am I?
You're very distant.
And distant, yeah.
How about that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Hit it. Just so we know. Yeah.
Yeah. We're good.
Yeah. Okay. Hold.
Wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference, as I speak in my deep, dulcet tones through my real microphone, not the tin thing that's attached to my computer. So I think you guys know how this works. I'm going to say a term, and I'm going to go around the horn, and we're going to try to ignore the comment section and see how many points we get in this particular contest. So this week's term is tater. Tater.
Tater, like Tater, or cater?
Tater. Tater. All right.
Tater. Tater.
Tater. All right. Eccles, you're laughing, so you're going first.
Oh man, just because I enjoy the word, why do I have to go first? Okay, there's so many ways we can go with this. My initial gut tells me that this is going to be some kind of Olympic reference. There's going to be something to the Olympics. Some tater won gold medal in shooting something. But I'm not going to go with that. I am still going to say it's a pop culture reference. But I am going to say that in the last week, John has figured out that the best way to prepare for canning beer is with eggs and taters. And so he's just had taters on his mind. And so he's just going with that.
What do you mean taters?
It's just
do you mean like tater tots?
Yeah,
Oh.
tater tots.
Yeah, I was thinking tater tots because I have a 5-year-old, and that's
All right.
the first thing that comes to mind.
John, sometimes John's eating palate is akin to a 5-year-old. So, I mean,
We've got a guest, so I won't flip the bird. Carin, what do you think the word tater has to do with our particular categories of wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference?
Oh man, I think it's just pop culture because I think I'm, for whatever reason, I'm stuck on tater, and I'll tell you why. I had a girl that worked for me for a while at ABC News, and she was fantastic. She was from Poland, and whenever they had tater tots at the cafeteria, she would just go crazy. She'd be like, tater tots. So yeah.
tater tot day.
No, but it's the cutest way. She would say, they have tater tots. So, that's all I'm thinking of. So pop culture.
I don't buy French fries at the grocery store. We get tater tots. Anyway, Solomon.
You know, my favorite potato food of all time was I was in Kyoto, Japan, and we were like walking up to this just big temple, like on the top of this hill. And on the way up, it's like the street leading up to it is kind of like a fair. It almost felt like a county fair. And I was walking up, and in particular, the thing that struck me that I just had to buy was a potato-nato, which was a spiral cut potato, deep fried and spread down the length of like a lollipop stick. And they had, this is the best part, as part of their marketing, was a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio during the filming of Inception. Like part of it was filmed inside of this particular temple. He stopped to get a potato-nato. What does it have to do with the term tater? Absolutely nothing, because tater, as we all know, is a spirit term, because it was the nickname of one of the dudes on Moonshiners. There was popcorn and tater running a wood-fired still in the backwoods of Kentucky. Tater.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
All right. The term tater, which comes from, I picked up on VinePair and their Urban Dictionary regarding whiskey. Tater is a neophyte drinker or collector.
Wow.
As in, so that tater specifically booked an international flight just so he could buy Blanton's at the duty-free store. So it's a whiskey term. We'll give it
Sorry, John, I cut you off a little earlier.
That's fine. Congratulations, Solomons, for getting half a point and winning.
It's almost as good as winning my second podcast award.
So I just got to say, JVB says that he has a buddy screaming "Tater the Gator" in the background, and according to him, this is definitely a pop culture reference. The mascot of the Norwich Navigators, he says, is Tater the Gator.
Yeah, he's wrong. I only wish I were there, JVB, not to see you, but to tell your friend that he's wrong.
The things Jeff Solomon lives for. Okay.
Oh, man. Hey, and everybody should be joining the fun in the comments section during Wine, Beer, Spirit, or Pop Culture References. You ought to do every Tuesday night around 8:30 Mountain Time. That's a time zone, I think.
It is.
Yeah, as you ought to do at welikerdrinking.com/show, or just find us on YouTube and hit the like and subscribe button and ring the bell.
Ring that bell. All right, let's get into this. We've absorbed 30 minutes of Carin's time already.
I'm having a blast.
So Carin, we got through your Avenger origin story already. That was fantastic. So let's get in, or I guess Jeff or John, do you have any other SIA questions before we move into the Spirit Fund?
I do. So when deciding to make a blended Scotch whiskey and starting from just grabbing bottles of stuff that you like and doing it at home, are you reaching out to, I mean, is that the common practice of reaching out to other big Scotch whiskey houses and signing contracts with them and like you still blend it in your house?
No. Okay. No, I thankfully I started working with real professionals who are actual master blenders. And I do want to share a little bit about some of the blending team that I worked with, because I'm very proud of this. Was my another Avengers story, if you will. And it was Jim Beveridge, who's the master blender for Johnny Walker, Craig Wallace, who's the master blender for Old Parr and Buchanan's, and Emma Walker, who's the master blender for Jane Walker. So it was a collaboration, and it was just spectacular. So just a really amazing experience to work with that team. Yeah, and then I guess just a little bit more about the spirit, if I may. It's 86 proof, so 43% ABV. We've got a nice representation from Speyside, Highlands, Isla, and Lowlands. Not too much Isla, so it's not super smoky. We use first fill and refill ex-American oak casks, ex-bourbon casks, American oak. And while we don't talk about all of the distilleries in the blend, Tianinnik is a 200-year-old distillery from the Highlands that we do like to showcase that helps bring out some of those citrus notes that you tasted, Jeff. So it's just a really beautiful blend. 96 point rated, also double gold medal from the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. That means that all the whiskey judges gave SIA a gold medal unanimously.
That's awesome. And I did just want to also follow up the name of the brand.
Yeah. So it's funny. I was a designer, and so a lot of Scotch whiskey bottles tend to look the same to me: green glass, brown glass, bulge neck. Hard to pronounce name. So I wanted to kind of shift that. I chose a bottle that, SIA's for everybody, men and women alike. So I wanted a bottle that was a little bit more neutral, that appeals to a man or a woman. Like I talked to a bunch of bartenders, bar managers, store managers. They all said, make sure that it's a small bottle on the shelf and the footprint, easy to pour, and you can read the name from far away. So SIA means 6 in Scottish Gaelic. I went through the Scottish Gaelic dictionary word by word. And I landed on 6, which is my favorite number. And there are 6 whiskeys in the original blend. And my friend also pointed out to me it could stand for Scotch is awesome.
There you go.
There you go. Cheers.
And interesting backstory. I have a cousin named Sia. It's spelled differently, but yeah. I was also wondering, if you drink enough of this, will I be swinging from the chandelier?
There's no relation, but if there is a cocktail in Las Vegas, they call it the See Ya Later, which I think is awesome.
That's great.
Is your Scotch in that drink?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do love the shape of the bottle, by the way, the especially how it kind of tapers in the middle, very hand friendly, I think.
And like the splattered S on the back, those are the details that I like. That. Yeah, Eccles, I don't know if you know this. I used to work at a record store, and so I would always look for the little hidden stuff too. That's really cool. Easter egg. Yeah,
awesome. I think I may have found a way to get myself a bottle, so I'm pretty excited about that. So you didn't hear that from me.
I didn't hear it.
So. We're loving everything about SIA. I personally can't wait to get my hands on it, but it sounds amazing. Jeff, you did a great job of walking us through that. But that's obviously not enough for a Carin. So you mentioned a lot through some of the interviews that I've seen and on your site about a lot of the roadblocks that you went through and the struggles that you went through in getting SIA created. I think it's amazing that you went through Kickstarter. Quick question on that, if I can. Do a lot of alcohol producers go to Kickstarter? I had personally never heard of that.
No, and it's for good reason. So there's certain products that you can't give away on Kickstarter as a reward for backing your project, and alcohol is one of those, as you guys know, for us shipping across state lines. Adult signatures required. There's a lot of legalities when it comes to shipping alcohol to someone. So I had to get creative. You can raise money for your alcohol project, but you can't give it away for your backers. So I gave away shirts and flasks, and I threw parties where people had SIA at the party. I lived in a loft in San Francisco at the time, and I rented out my loft. 3 strangers each threw parties at my house, and one gentleman put in the highest reward and got his name printed on the labels for the first production run. So it was the Mullenweg edition.
Oh, that's amazing. I know we've talked to some people that had gotten part of their brewery done via Kickstarter. So they're able to target local people for that. But I think that's amazing. That was definitely the first time I've heard of it, and such an ingenious way to go about it. So
thanks. Yeah, it's cool. It's like a way to kind of give people a little backstage view of your business. I had funded a couple projects on Kickstarter before, and so I like that people were sharing the behind the scenes, right? I'm working on, if it's a brewery, we're scoping out our space, or we just designed our logo. What do you guys think? So it's fun to be able to share that with people all along the way.
And I know that we could do an entire episode just purely on SIA, but that's not the main reason you're here. SIA Scotch Whisky has pledged $250,000 to the Entrepreneurial Spirit Fund, which you spearheaded, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And so you're going to pick 25 small business owners of color that will receive $10,000 grant money to help go towards their business, and which is amazing. But then in addition to that, they're getting direct mentorship access to you as part of this to help really help guide them getting their business either off the ground or to the next level. So this is a big undertaking you've taken. So why was it so important for you to create and provide this that's opportunity to young entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm really proud of this. I since day one of my brand, I've given a percentage of my sales towards helping minority entrepreneurs, and this is definitely the biggest and the grandest way that I've been able to do so. So this is the largest amount that we're doing. It's $250,000, as you said, in the form of $10,000 grants to 25 grant recipients in the states where we operate. So that's California, Nevada, Florida, Texas, New York, and Illinois. And it could be any business. So we're not, there's a list of eligible businesses. You have to identify as at least 51% minority owned and be at least 25 years of age. But other than that, there's very few restrictions on the type of business. And also less than $1 million in revenue. We're looking for small businesses. So yeah, giving back is really important to me. I didn't do this without help along the way. So paying it forward or, bringing it full circle is really important to me. So that I can help, I guess there's a phrase now that I like called sending the elevator back down. And so, just being able to help any way I can, and, that being financial, but as well as just mentorship as well.
And I know you had reached out to us, I think in early July, to try to get on the show, and just scheduling it. We couldn't get John till now, but the deadline is coming up really quick. We're recording this on August 3rd. This will release on August 6th, and they've got to have their submissions in by when?
August 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern. The good news is it's about maybe a 10 to 15 minute application process. You do have to just record a little selfie video that takes all of about a minute these days, right? Yeah. So a very short process, and it's through, we're in partnership with a company called Hello Alice, which is a community of almost 500,000 small business owners now on the platform. So they've got an amazing community and resources. So it's a good idea just to join in general. And once you are, you just sign up for the grant program. And then you also have access to all kinds of other grant programs as well.
That's amazing. And so if you're listening and you're interested in doing this, you can visit SIA Scotch Fund.helloalice.com to get to read more information about it and submit your video for the grant. So I've got plenty of other questions, but I want to give the floor over to the other guys. John, I haven't heard from you for a while. Do you have a question about this?
So
I kicking in.
So I think more important than the money itself is the mentorship aspect. Because, I mean, face it, no matter who goes into business, whomever it might be, you need some support, right? And it's just so cool that you're offering your experiences and maybe a shoulder to cry on or just whatever. So to me, that's just so neat because, man, people just go into business and they have great ideas and they run into stuff that they just never expected. And to have that, hopefully that phone call or that text just that far away to help guide people through that. But I guess my question is, but that's just so cool. But my question is, with Hello Alice and all those 500,000 other entrepreneurs, are you seeing an ability to maybe gain more expertise or answer questions that maybe you can't answer and things like that, and reaching out to that network in order to help those people even more?
Yeah. So, I mean, while I know a lot about my industry, I don't know anything about other industries, right? And so they have so many verticals inside of the platform for different kinds of businesses, other kinds of, even like food businesses, or they're different than alcohol businesses. I mentor for a lot of different groups, and some are technology. And while, there's some similarities of some things that you can offer advice on, there's some things that are just unique to those spaces. And so community like Hello Alice is great because you can tap into these other communities. So yeah, it's been fun. I was actually a member. I'm not only a hair club president, but yeah, so I was a member of their community for years as well. So I got value from it, and so it's great to be able to partner with them and see it kind of come again full circle, right?
Amazing.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if you're really allowed to answer this, but have you taken a sneak peek at some of these submissions?
No, I really wanted to. I can admit that. That was we're at a couple of thousand applications already. And so there was this idea of like, oh, well, maybe if I start now, I can kind of start like looking through them and save time. But that's not helpful, right? So I feel like let me wait till the submissions close, run a filter, make sure that everyone is eligible, and then go through those to make sure that I'm not, spending time.
Right. I just was wondering if you had somebody throwing some real like gaga idea out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we're all in on this. We got to help this person out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jeff,
we'll be announcing. The winners will be announced by September 14th, and the funds deployed by October 8th. So
wow,
pretty fast.
Pretty quick turnaround. Yeah.
Wow. I find myself in this interesting position here where it's like, you identified challenges that you've gone through in starting your own business. You've identified a systemic problem, and yet it's almost this, I don't want to say necessarily above and beyond. And yet, Carin, you've gone so much further than most other people would dare to go in terms of not saying like, hey, this is a cause that we all need to get behind, but putting a huge sum of money and a huge amount of your own time that you're giving. And what I'm asking is, I almost feel like I know the answer, and you've kind of alluded to it, but I'm wondering, like, where do you get the inspiration from to say, we're not doing enough, we need to do more, this is what I'm going to do right now? Where does that come from?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can give you the stats first and then my real kind of heart story. But so in the last 10 years, minority entrepreneurs have accounted for creating 4.7 million new jobs in this country, and account for half, like over 50% of new businesses have been created by minority entrepreneurs. And yet the statistics still shows that we're receiving less than 2% of venture capital and funding. But so that's venture capital funding. That means that you have a business that's worthy of venture. So what about all of the other businesses that aren't even ever going to step into that room, right? That don't need to be a venture business. So it is really important for me to be able, like, what can I do to help change those numbers? And then, the personal story, my mom and dad came from Cuba. They were immigrants. They didn't speak the language. They came out here with no money, like nothing, literally. Like, we don't have photos from our family. Like, they arrived with the clothes on their back, not speaking the language, and just really had to, adapt and survive and work really hard, any jobs they could to make it. So for me, I grew up in a generation that was surrounded by, Cuban American kids that were all kind of in that same kind of boat of, not to say guilt, but there's definitely we did this for you to have a better life. And so there's definitely I want to make sure that their work wasn't in vain, and to make sure that I do them proud. But then it kind of, it's even more than that. Like now, how do I give to the next generation? So it's a lot about legacy, I think, similar to Scotch. Maybe that's why that kind of resonated for me.
Wow.
Maybe I'm going to tread
That's
on
really
something.
cool.
Thanks, Solomon. Maybe I'm going to tread on something a little bit, but you know, I really love your idea, and I hope it grows and can become even bigger, because venture capitalism is a trap, you know, and sometimes venture capitalists will see a good idea and they'll just wait for someone to fail with it and come in and say, poof, you know, it's ours now. So I'd love to see this grow and help see you mentor people and really grow these businesses for these people that need the help and need the support, so that they don't have to go down that road and they can grow organically.
Yeah. I think once you take on venture money, there's kind of a hook, right? Like you're now, like, you've in some ways made a deal with the devil. Like you can't do things exactly how you want to. You're beholden to a different timeline than maybe you're ready or comfortable for, or the brand is, right? And so you have to be, you know, authentic to, is this a business? Maybe it's just a family business. Maybe it's a legacy business. Maybe it's just something that, you know, you don't need to feel as if this is going to be like some billion-dollar unicorn. Like, so I think that there's definitely it needs to be a little bit more of a shift in perspective of what success means, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because once you go down the VC route, the goal, the end game, all of it changes drastically from what you initially started off at. So Jeff kind of touched on it, but I'm curious, as you're thinking forward to this, you know, you mentioned you ran into a lot of hurdles, as anybody opening up a business runs into a lot of hurdles and rejection. And while you were creating SIA, so as you're looking back on that, are there any particular hurdles or rejections that you didn't see coming, but you're like, oh wow, I really should have seen that you're looking to really be able to remove or prepare the recipients of the grant for?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, right?
So many, right? Yeah. I mean,
like, you know, it's, I think why people have a second child is that they forget how hard it was in the beginning. And so, like, you know, like now, having been 8 years in, I've kind of forgotten, you know, how hard it was in the beginning. But, you know, I do remember there was a number that was 80. It was 80 no's that I got, 80 rejections, 80 emails that said, no, we can't help you. You're crazy. This is never going to work. So, because it was the 81st that finally said yes. So I think a lot about like grit and perseverance, and that it's not all easy, right? Like, I think it's like who was it? Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters had this like awesome quote about like, excuse my language, but fuck The Voice and fuck American Idol, because like the way that you get good at something is you don't go on some TV show and strike it big. Like, you sit in your garage with your friends and you make really bad music for a really long time. And then eventually you might start getting good. So I think just perseverance and grit is a big lesson for sure.
For sure.
I love that David Grohl quote.
Oh man, so good.
and that's one of the amazing things about what you're doing is, you know, the perseverance and grit you're talking about. You know, after 50 no's, 60 no's, 70 no's, that can really start to weigh on people, and having that mentorship there. You know, anybody I've ever known that's been successful has had a mentor of some kind or the other, because especially starting your own business, there's so many things that come up the entire time. You need that knowledge. And I'm sorry, I think I cut you off from where you're going to go. But, you know, just having that person kind of in your corner that is backing you, not just rah, you can do it, but now putting money behind that. Yes. I think that's just a powerful thing for 25 lucky people out there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And, you know, different kinds of mentors too, right? Like, it might not be just me. Like, if there's something that I don't know, I'm going to go out and find somebody that knows about that industry or that perspective or that stage of business. So yeah, it's, you know, I can't claim to be all things to all people. So I'm definitely, you know, so like lucky that I had a bunch of different kinds of people helping me out. So to help kind of surround these entrepreneurs with, as you said, not just the money, but the resources that they need for success.
So is there anything, as you're not looking at the entries yet, you're I'm sure you're waiting to get to them, but
You're planting that seed, and now I'm like,
is there anything that you're kind of looking out for that you can think of? Is there a specific type of business or backgrounds or goals that you feel will be something that you'll gravitate towards?
Yeah, I think one of the questions that we might have on the application is that, how does your business impact your community? So that's a big one, right? Of not just, how does this serve yourself, but how do you serve others through your business? So that's definitely something I'll be looking out for. And just a good representation from, different kinds of businesses, different kinds of people, experiences. So just a good kind of, I don't know, rainbow, if you will, of entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Again, folks, if you listen to this and you're like, this is my jam, I need to get in this, you got to do it quick. So hopefully you download this on Friday and are able to get this in next week. But SIA, SIA Scotch Fund.helloalice.com. You can get to it in the show notes. You can also get to it by visiting the SIA website at siascotchwhisky.com. But if you fit the bill and this is something that is interesting to you, get on it and get on it quick. Guys, I'll give you one last question if you got them. Jeff.
I actually just have a suggestion as we're also pitching that, how about everybody just take that link from our show notes, drop it into your social media, because maybe it doesn't apply to you, but maybe it applies to someone that never really even talk to you about their hopes and dreams for what they wanted to do. I just think of how many times we've had so many interviews, Carin, where we've talked to people about how'd you get started? It's yeah, me and my friends were sitting around thinking we should start a bar, and then we did it. And it's we all have our friends out there that want to do that stuff. And it's I think that might be a magical blessing for those of you that are just going to share it right now and see who gets that, who didn't know.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just getting the word out in this last week. So I really appreciate that perspective. If it's not for you, like you said, it could be one of your friends that could benefit from this.
John?
I don't have a question. I just want to say my heart is full knowing that you're doing that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And I guess my last question is will you bring all 25 people into a Zoom call or something like that, and then go, you get $10,000 and you get $10,000, you get $10,000.
Check under your seat. Check under your seat.
My Oprah Winfrey moment.
Yes.
Oh God, I'm gonna be crying. But I think also, how do you go down and select? That's gonna be so.
It's
hard.
gonna be it's going to be very hard, but I'm sure it's going to be so rewarding. So for those of us that can't get into it or but are really interested in it, is there a way that we will be able to follow kind of the trajectory of this? Will you be announcing the 25 people? Will we be able to see you pull up in a van and jump out with a big check or anything like that?
Oh, that'd be so cool. Like that old Publishers Clearinghouse. Yeah, we'll be posting it on the SIA Scotch Fund.helloalice.com page. So after the winners will be announced there. Also on SIA Scotch Whisky on Instagram, we'll be showcasing the entrepreneurs, and probably on our website as well. So they'll get more FaceTime and awareness than maybe they thought that they would. So I want their businesses to be well known. I want people to support them and help them get to the point where they can give grants back to.
So amazing. That was awesome. I'm so excited to watch how this goes. But unfortunately, even when you're having the best night of your life, eventually some jerk calls. Last call. Time to clean house and lock the doors. You know what we do here, folks. We're looking for a little bit of help from you. John Ruyak, if the folks want to follow us on the social media platforms, how can they do so?
Well, all those platforms, there's mostly 3 of them. Twitter, we're at We Like Drinking 1. That's the numeral 1. Instagram is just plain old We Like Drinking. And the famous tavern, that's welikedrinking.com/tavern. Ask to join. We'll let you in. No cover charge.
And we'll never kick you out. Carin, if the folks want to follow you, follow SIA, or follow the grant, where can they do so, and what are the best places on social media to find them?
Instagram is SIA Scotch Whisky. So it's Facebook, website, siascotchwhisky.com, keeping it real easy. and then the grant program is siascotchfund.helloalice.com, or just search for the Entrepreneurial Spirit Fund by SIA Scotch.
The Entrepreneurial Spirit Fund. Excellent. Jeff Solomon, if folks have some thoughts on this show or my complete inability to speak, where can they go to leave a review?
Hey, search up some vocal lessons search up the show at Apple Podcasts and leave us a big fat 5-star review. And if you enjoyed this episode in particular, share it with a friend. In fact, no, what I want you to share with a friend is the SIA Scotch Fund link that I just shared on my own Facebook page. And if you're not my friend, what's wrong with you?
Everybody, go search up Jeff Solomon on Facebook and friend him right now, please. And if you've done all that and you're just looking to do a little bit more, consider becoming a patron of the show by visiting welikedrinking.com/pledge. There you can find out how, for as little as $1 a month, you can help keep this show barreling down the interweb highway. You can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/episodes. All right, this was an unusual episode. I feel all good and happy and
Hey, usually we're yelling about something, and now
usually we're all angry and delirious by this point.
We can go back to dad jokes.
But we have reached the time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
I'm glad that my fingers are now warm enough after canning all of that beer in the cold room that I could actually type in my stuff to get onto the show tonight. That was pretty cool.
Thank you for doing that. Jeff Solomon.
I was just thinking about Carin talking about the 80 no's before she got a yes, and I couldn't help but, as we're recording this, the women's park skateboarding competition's happening at the Tokyo Olympics. And while I'm not watching that during the show, so don't say anything in the chat, I was thinking about, what we often see in skateboarding is you see, Yuto Horigome doing a switch 180 hurricane shove out. And you think like, oh, that's amazing. He was born to do that. He's a prodigy. And they talk about all that stuff. But what you don't see is fall after fall after fall and all the injuries and all the hard work that goes into it. And sometimes people watch a run in the Olympics and they see somebody falling in their run and they're like, oh, that person must suck. And it's like, no. I think the world has everything ass backwards, right? You don't get good at anything unless you try. And the hardest part about trying is knowing that you're going to fall on your ass. And it's, what is it going to take for you to get up and be ready to take another slam in another 5 minutes. And I just, Carin, I'm stoked on your entrepreneurial spirit. I think anyone who receives these grants are going to be really stoked on it. And anyone who receives your fine blended Scotch whiskey as a sample, I think is a winner as well. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Carin, any final thoughts before we let you get out of here?
No, it's been a blast to just hanging out with you tonight. And I hope to make it out to Colorado Springs so I can taste some of that delicious beer. Let's have one last cheers.
Yes, definitely. Cheers. Yes, and Carin, if you do make it out to Denver again, like for sure, hit me up.
I will. You got it.
And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast, where you'll never drink alone. The screen grab for the show is our three fists up there and Carin in hysterics sitting there with her hand off to the side just laughing. Awesome. Viewers, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. There were some really good comments in there. JBB did go find the Dave Grohl comment. No guest next week, so it'll be extra chaotic next week. So be sure to join us. Thank you all for showing up, and we will talk to you next week. Hold on a second, Carin.
Bye, Facebook. Bye, Jeff McKinney.